Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the coffee stream. Today I'm joined by no one. It's me, all by myself. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, September Dragon Audio, Sydney, Jimmy Horror, and Interscare Wifey. So I have one story already picked out, but if there's something you specifically want me to read, some genre or anything, or a specific type, just tell me in the comments slash live feed. Promise I know English. And I will find a story that makes that criteria, or I can just keep picking random ones, whichever you guys prefer. So the first one is called Earth's Revolt, and it's by Skelherla. I guess that's how you pronounce that. So I'll just read that real quick for you guys. I peeked over the edge. Binding white light struck my face. I shielded my eyes with my hand, and I could feel the perspiration start to form on my skin. I didn't bother wiping it. Why should I? It wouldn't matter because it would be all over soon. I spun around and laid on my back, looking up at the stars. Millions of those sparkling celestial bodies littered the sky. It was getting harder to breathe. No matter, it would be over soon. I glanced at the other people on this stretch of land, families hurled together, crying, praying, pleading that their respective gods. Even people I recognized as atheists did the same. Some people sat around their torn and destroyed homes. The rest sat huddled around what was left of a church. These people were pathetic, especially the atheists. All their lives ignoring religion, living without faith, only to plead to something that didn't exist when something terrible happened. Humanity deserved this. After all, the sins our race had committed. And now it was finally happening. We were dying, along with the rest of the planet. I had resigned to my grim fate on the small piece of land where we were on. Few others on the fraction of the crust didn't weep or plead to gods. Looking up, I saw another smaller part of the Earth's crust rocketing upwards, way high above us. I had seen it a while earlier, and it had 2 deer on it. Soon, they were going to leave Earth's atmosphere and burst. Who knew? Maybe they were already dead. I took another glance at Earth's fiery core. It was smaller now, further away, still boiling hot. I sighed, returning to my relaxed pose. It was getting even harder to breathe. Drawing heavier breaths, my gaze returned to the piece of rock with the deer on it. It had already exited Earth's atmosphere and floated aimlessly in space. Was this all there was for us as well? Had our lives been completely pointless? Was there nothing beyond this? I refused to believe that. I ignored those frightful thoughts. I refocused my eyes upon the stars illuminating the darkness of space. They seemed bigger, brighter. Approaching the figures of our planet's atmosphere, my mind wandered to thoughts of what awaited me on the other side. Was it burning torment of hell? Was it heaven? Or nothingness? I pictured my deceased brother. Was he waiting on the other side? Probably. Possibly. As the boundary between our atmosphere and space got shorter, I had already accepted my fate. I realized that no matter what happened after my death, I had no power over it. What was the point in wishing for things that would never come true? My eyes glossed over, and for the first time in years, I felt dread. My fingers clawed at the asphalt. I wasn't ready for death, but I embraced myself, taking a shallow breath, which I presumed to be my last. I closed my eyes and waited for the end. Okay, that was a little bit darker than I thought it was going to be, but it's fine. I just picked one that I thought had an interesting title. Sorry if you hear smokes every once in a while. The problem is my mic's on the thing I keep my drinks on. Is it poor planning? Yes, but I don't have anywhere else to put them, so. I'm just here to look for another story. So anything you guys are interested in me reading? Hey, Dark Horse Tales, it's been a while since I've seen you. Welcome back. Any stories you guys are interested in at all for me to read, or should I just pick the next one for you guys? And yes, I'm going to be fumbling a lot. I am dyslexic and my brain likes to mix things up. This is why I don't normally live read very much, because I'm not exactly the greatest at it. Alright, I'm going to read the next story, and if you guys have one that you would like me to read or a genre you like me to read, just tell me. The Bloody Mary Game by Alporos Lila. I think that's how you pronounce that. A few weeks ago, I went on a school trip to visit a couple of museums in the capital, so we had spent a few nights at a hotel. It was bound to be just another boring experience, but that time it was not the case at all. On the first night, when we got back to the hotel, I met Nicole, a girl from another school that was visiting the same place as us. Her room was right next to mine, so she introduced me to some of her friends. And we all got along pretty well. After a couple hours, I went back to my room and got ready for bed. It was almost midnight, and as I was brushing my teeth, I could hear the girls laughing. So I put my ear against the wall and tried to listen using glass resting on the sink. I couldn't quite make out what they were saying, but it sounded like Nicole and her friends were murmuring and giggling. I assumed it was just some good old-fashioned gossip and went to sleep. The following day, I went up with Nicole and the crew. The following day, when I met up with Nicole and the crew, I asked her about the previous night. She said they were playing Bloody Mary Truth or Dare game. It's like playing Truth or Dare by spinning a bottle, but with a twist, she said. Basically, if you choose truth, you have to share a personal secret about yourself. Otherwise, you be dared to say Bloody Mary 3 times while staring at yourself in the mirror with the lights off, only having a dim flashlight pointed at your face. It is said that if you complete these steps, Bloody Mary would come and take your soul or some nonsense along those lines. Another important rule was to record yourself while you completed said ritual. I laughed about it and asked if I could join in, and she naturally invited me to come back to her room around midnight and play with them. After yet another exhausting museum tour, it was finally time for the game. Once we all were back at the hotel, I changed clothes as fast as I could and rushed to Nicole's room, eager to have some fun after a boring day. After a few quick turns and witnessing Nicole scare some of the other girls, it was my turn to take the flashlight to the bathroom. I said the name twice without any hesitation. However, when I was about to say it the third time, a cold chill went down my spine, and I almost turned on the lights. Then I heard Nicole calling me chicken, so I just shouted Bloody Mary at the top of my lungs. I could feel myself clenching my teeth as soon as I uttered the words, as if I was getting ready for Bloody Mary to come, or most likely, just Nicole trying to scare me. To nobody's surprise, nothing happened, and we carried on with the game for a couple of more rounds before going to sleep. 3 weeks have passed since that night, and I have gathered some friends at my house to teach them the game. Some of them are real scaredy cats, but they're too proud to admit it, especially the guys. I think we hear a few screams tonight. I can't wait. We're about to start the game, and I offer to go first. I wonder if somebody will try to scare me, and I quite frankly kinda want that too. The rush of adrenaline and the silly look on one's face when they're getting scared of their own reflection is quite something. As I enter the bathroom with the lights off, I proceed to say the name 3 times. After a few seconds, I hear my friends complain that they didn't hear me, so I just say it again 3 more times. After a brief moment of silence, I notice a slender figure behind the shower curtains. It looks a little like my sister. She's rather short for her age and has long wavy hair. I bet she's trying to scare me. The other kids waited for about 5 minutes before checking in on their friend. They turned on the lights, and she wasn't there. But the window was wide open, so they all laughed and thought she ran outside to scare them by knocking on the door. Her sister picked up the phone and replayed the recording. After the 6th Bloody Mary, a dark silhouette of a girl appeared to be coming out from behind the curtains. As she got closer to the mirror, dark red streaks could be seen on her face, almost like she'd been crying blood. A couple of seconds later, the phone just turned itself off, and so did the lights. So how is everyone doing today? I'm sorry if you guys hear a lot of cars. It is the middle of the day. But that's probably the reason I have music playing, so you guys won't hear as much. That's good to hear, Dark Horse. Alright, I'm gonna go look for another story. I'm trying to keep them a bit more shorter. This one's a really short one. Not that one. Isn't bad. That's really good to hear, Sydney. I'm happy everything's good there. Or great there. Alright. Let's read this one, which I think is by the same author. Yes, it is. So the same author as I said last time. It's called Home Sweet Home. The walls have ears, and your home shares your fondest memories. These are just a couple of These are a couple of rather meaningless things my grandmother used to tell me when I was a little girl. However, those words were the first thing that came back to me as I was fighting. Wow, I know what that word is, and now my brain goes, no, I don't know how to pronounce it. Yay! At least it only took 3 stories for me to get to that point. Yeah. Those words were the first thing that came back to me when I was fighting amnesia. Nobody had a clue why, and quite frankly, everyone was so happy that I was regaining my memory that nobody seemed to care about anything else. I didn't care either, not at first anyway. My amnesia was caused by an awful car accident, which I was lucky to survive, even though I've been suffering from temporary amnesia for quite some time. My family had particularly bad times with it, but it got better eventually. The first few weeks were horrible. I couldn't recognize anyone, kept crying myself to sleep, and just felt overwhelmed by all the people trying to talk about who I was and what happened to me. After that, I went through a long period of denial, but as stubborn as I was, the bits and pieces started to come back, and I regained more of my long-term memory. I still don't recall all the minor things I used to do or like, but overall, I'm pretty much myself again. That's a good thing, right? Well, I don't really know. I have been discharged from the hospital just a couple days ago, and now I'm back home. I should be happy about it, but something doesn't seem right. No, it's not the fact that I occasionally forget my brother's name or forget where my room is, and other memory loss related issues. I was told that some of them are normal symptoms that linger on for a while, especially in a case as severe as mine. However, that's not what's bothering me. It's something else. I think I might be losing it. Maybe it's some kind of damage my brain has suffered, or maybe it's caused by all the stress I've been under. I really don't know what it is, but it freaks me out, and I sincerely don't know if I'm going crazy right now. It started as I unpacked my stuff the other day. I found an earring, and then I spent quite some time turning the bag inside out looking for the second one. Despite the effort, I failed to find it, so I asked my mother if she had seen it around the house. She smiled and sat down next to me. "You always put on just one earring, dear. It was like your unique style of wearing earrings," she said, insisting I've spent years wearing only one earring. Apparently, the whole thing started when I was in such a hurry for a birthday party that I forgot to put on both earrings. Some boy I knew noticed it and said it looked cool that way, and just stuck with it ever since. She also added that I only wear them both for special occasions. I tried to remember, but I couldn't. And as I was struggling to access my lost memories, she asked if I wanted her to buy me a new pair. I told her I wanted to go back to my old habits, or at least give it a try. I thought it would help me regain some of my lost memories. So I put the earring in my left ear and continued to sort out my things. When I finally finished, I stood up and looked at our beautiful garden through the window. I suddenly noticed that my reflection displayed a brief shining light coming from my right ear. It looks like it had an earring in it, reflecting the sunlight. I was getting closer to the window when my mother came in without knocking on the door. The squeaking of the door hinges startled me, and I momentarily forgot about the reflection. As I turned around, she noticed my earring and kindly told me that I put it in the wrong ear. I was freaking out, but assuming it was just my brain's way of remembering things. I mentioned nothing about the reflection and tried my best to act normal. She went through a lot, and I didn't want to scare her, so I just took the earring off and went to sleep. Today, after I woke up, I mistakenly put my earring in the left ear again, and as I was brushing my teeth, the reflection once again had in the right ear. It was not just a distorted reflection in the window. This time it was a crystal clear image in the mirror, showing the earring in my reflection's right ear. My ears were wide open, and I found myself compelled to put the earring into my right ear, terrified even to blink. The reflection simply stood still as I was doing it. Now it's in my right ear, and I'm staring at my reflection's dreadful grin as it strokes its right ear. Seraphine! Welcome! The bard is in the house. Yeah, I played Bloody Mary as a kid too. I thought it'd be an interesting story. They're not 100% sure where the story came from. Some people think it's the Queen, who was called Bloody Mary in her lifetime. But they're not 100% sure which Mary it is because there's a bunch of different stories of where the legend came from. So, woo! That car was loud. So, yeah, I love, like, to me, Bloody Mary, even though it's a kid's game, is still history. So, that one's a bit too long. Just want short ones. Anything you guys want me to read specifically at all? I can read a true story if you like. I can go find one. I'm basically just reading creepypastas right now, if you guys. Say Bloody Mary 3 times. Bard, say Bloody Mary 3 times in front of your side view mirror in your car, then speed away when she appears. Fair. But the thing is, she's normally in the mirror, so might not get away all that well. This one's not too bad. Jesus, a lot of planes today. I can hear them. It's probably being over where planes fly. Alright, I'll go on to the next one. If you guys have an idea what you'd like me to read next, please tell me. Caffeine by So Pretentious. Have you ever noticed that when you lay on your stomach, with your head facing the ceiling, the vision that dances around your head all night becomes more vivid? You might wake up in the middle of the night with an uneasy feeling from the hallucinations you were just experiencing. You stuff your face into the pillow, only to find your subconscious movements turns you right back to the same position as before. On one of these nights in particular, you recall waking up without the slightest idea where you were. Usually when you slumber in this position, you enter a world of wondrous splendor. When you rise in the morning, you choose to fall right back to sleep, extending the trance you have discovered simply by shifting positions. This was not one of those nights. Although you fell asleep face up, you awoken with this Although you fell asleep face up, you woke with a less ordination than dream-induced euphoria. It was a little frightening, but quickly your thoughts and memories rushed back to you, and soon enough, you returned to rest. That was yesterday, though. Nothing in the world is certain for very long. Who's to say that tomorrow you don't wake up with even more confusion? Slowly losing yourself every day, waking up less aware of who you are. Suddenly, it all makes sense, and you feel a dash of pride for exposing the truth. The problem is not sleeping a certain way, waking up with this newfound sensationlessness, or even going to sleep right after waking. The issue is sleep itself. You've always been a problem solver, and the solution here is self-evident. After all, you're exercising insomnia before. For days on end, eventually losing track if it had been 3 days or a week that you have not been dormant. The trick you've learned is to eat more food. It's not as maniacal as it sounds. Just when you feel your eyelids pulling themselves down, or you start coiling into a bump stride on the side of the road, all you need is calories. It's a kind of balance, sort of like how if you eat enough oxygen-rich food, you don't need to breathe. Most people in non-third world countries have become lazy. Honestly, their bodies have accumulated to a high level of calories and sleep every day. In time, with enough practice, if you double the amount of food intake, you'll notice how easy it becomes to stay up. Back to my early point, you figured out that this is how you'll avoid the demons in your dreams. It was a logical decision at the time. What you didn't account for was the actions of other people. See, it was on this exact day your roommate had a confession in which they did not invite you. Conference. It was this exact day your roommate had a conference in which they did not invite you. Had you been present, obviously they would have had the right to speak, and your opinion wouldn't have been heard. Possibly even considered, but I'm getting off track here. In this delegation, without your approval or privy, they had decided a sort of ranking system for the household, in which you occupied the bottom rung. Whenever or wherever conveniable, accommodation was not to be accounted for. Your accommodations was not to be accounted for. The days and weeks that ensued were nothing short of a total madness. It started with little things, like moving your toothbrush since there was one bathroom in the house. Before long, your every movement discerned whether you would be stepping in shit or bathing in it. It's still nothing like battering those hallucinations of your rampant periods. On that front, you've done extremely well. It has not been 4 days, only 32,000 calories down. You don't feel tired at all. It's almost uplifting and energetic, and even without using the caffeine pills until very soon in the future. When you get back from the bank for a few days later, your roomie had literally bloody trapped your door. When you get back from the bank a few days ago, your roomie had booby trapped your door. As you pulled the handle to your chambers, a bucket of ooze fluid piles all over every square inch of your body. That's when the caffeine pills come in, because, of course, the scale must be tipped in another direction. It's only the parameters of our destiny to fulfill justice no matter what. You know that the only way to do that was to embrace your conservation. I'm gonna stop there. This story is not good. I'm not enjoying it, and I'm just gonna stop there. It's not very good. Sorry guys, that was not a good story. I'll find a different one. Awaking by Forever Adver, I think. Oh, Forever and Ever. It's one word. Sorry, sometimes you gotta break it up. Awakened by Forever and Ever. You woken from a dreamless sleep by a dull thud from the hallway. Your eyes snap open and fix instantly on the door. What made that noise? Breathing hard, fear begins to twitch in your mind. You realize with a shiver that you kicked your duvet off in your sleep. You quickly grab it and pull it around you, and unconsciously begin to tuck it around yourself tightly as you curl up, leaving no part exposed. You become a bit warm, self-ball coiled, leaving only a small gap between the duvet and the mattress so you can see out. Pillows become shields between your head and the wall. You're briefly reminded of your childhood, hiding from imaginary boogeymen, but this feeling is more dangerous. Another thud. This time, it seemed louder, deeper, coming from just outside. Trying to keep calm, you run through all the things it may be. It could be the pipes in the walls, which have been groaning for weeks now, with every increasing frequency and urgency. They were never that deep or this loud, though. The blinds in the bathroom, left to flap by the open window. You double-checked all the doors and windows each night. Perhaps it's your parents returning late and drunk. They're always on the cruise for another week. They're away on the cruise for another week, though. Your cat prowling through the house at night. You put it out that evening, though. Despite all your desperate reassurances, you feel the fear turn to panic, and you pull the duvet tighter around yourself, reducing your field of vision to a thin line. Although the loudest yet, just inches from your door. Your churning brain conjures images straight from your childhood nightmares. Mass psychopaths, giant spiders, shape-shifting creatures, amalgamations of bones and twisting their way across the floor, scrambling with twisted limbs from the door handle, the scruttling in with the burst of speed, crawling, grasping for your quivering body. But another. Your breath is hoarse and shallow now, mere gasp and sudden dry throat, lungs closing up, stomach churning and rolling, eyes wide and fixed. Your blanket is still tucked vice-like around you, your body pinned underneath its feudal protection, just inches of cotton between you and whatever is about to burst in. eyes burning, talons gleaming dull to claim its prize. Suddenly, in a flash of realization, you realize what the source of the noise is the old, falling apart bookcase in the corridor. One of its legs must have given way, and the tilt in the tipping books now one by one to the floor. As you listen carefully, you can hear the quiet ruffling of the pages as another tumbles to the ground. There ought to be just one last thud, and yes, silence once more descends, and with it a soothing calm. As you sink back into sleep, you glance around the room, still snuggled, cocooned, seeing the vague shapes of becoming defined as your night vision improves. Your desk, chair, and television all merge out of the muck, imposing good, same reality on the void of the night. Then, just before you shut your eyes, you see something that makes the bottom of your stomach drop away into nothingness. There, on the floor, is your duvet. Your screams are muffled. Apparently Bard does not like the word duvet. So, I don't know exactly what they were doing. It wasn't very well written, and I was not following the story, and it's hard to narrate a story when you can't even follow it. Good morning, Duchess of Darkness. Duvet is one of those words that drives me nuts because it doesn't read as it's written. It's not duvet, but rather duvet. Drives me nuts. That's like the French word for the word bird, which is yeah, it's weird. It's like 6 letters, but not one of them is sounded the way you think. It's not Usharu, it's pronounced Wuzu, and it will drive me bad about it. Apparently duvet, but again, it's not an English word, so... Also, I hate duvets. I had one way back when, and my blanket, like the actual inside of it, never stayed very well. So I quickly got rid of it and got just a normal blanket. And there's supposed to be a way that you're supposed to like tie them inside or something to make them better. Never could figure it out. To be fair, I didn't try very hard, but... Alright, we'll go to the next one. This one does not have... Oh, never mind, I'm not going to read this one. Okay, we'll read this one next. Okay. Far Corner by Unknown. The removal van arrives late, so by the time I have either moved into my new room, the sun has long since set. It has been a long day of driving, about 8 hours in the car traveling to our new home. I decided to sleep at an earlier hour than usual. As I'll most likely have to wake up early tomorrow morning to help my parents with the unpacking. For tonight, my bed is an uncovered mattress on the floor, underneath a window that permits a few beams of soft moonlight into the room. Bright enough to make out shapes, not bright enough to distinguish anything. In the darkness, the boxes containing my possessions transform into shadowy beings. One by the door, one at the foot of the bed, one in the far corner. I feel a few pings of fear, but nothing more than unusual. I never have been good at adjusting to new environments. After tossing and turning for an hour or so, I slip into unconsciousness. Later that night, I have an attack of sleep paralysis. I'm lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling, and I cannot move. I notice a shadowy figure standing over me, and I'm immediately gripped by the gut-wrenching fear. The figure is indistinct, and I can pick out no features upon its body or face. It begins to murmur at almost silent torments of words that I can't understand. My fear begins to lessen immediately as I realize this is simply a dream. This is an example of what I mean by not adjusting well. Well, that's a loud car. Sorry. I often suffer from sleep paralysis when I sleep in new locations. After what must have been an hour, I come to realization that I can move again. The figure is gone, and I'm freed from my night terrors. As I once again slip away into sleep, it occurs to me that I have never realized that I'm in a moment of sleep paralysis until after I'm awake. I dismiss that thought, as I am now exhausted and wish to catch at least a few hours of shut-eye before the morning light. I awake the next morning to find myself facing the wall. Although the room is still dim, a few shafts of golden sunlight filter through the blinds, illuminating the space. The first thing I think of is the sleep paralysis last night. It was strange that I knew I was dreaming, but I guess I'm just getting used to it. As I roll over, my eyes are drawn to that particular spot. The far corner is empty. Middle fees, midnight bird. He will always be the midnight bird, no matter what he does. Never the midday bird. The midday bird makes terrible sandwiches. Terrible sandwiches. Officially changed my name to Solblock Kalamek. I did so with no warning, introducing myself as such once, and Dare was like, "I'm sorry, who?" And I was like, "Solblock!" Yeah, that does sound like something you would do, Seraphine. You need to tell your partner in crime what you're planning, otherwise he can't kind of go with it. Jeez, you should know this by now. He's been your partner in crime for years. Alright, I think I'm going to read one more story and then I'm going to call it here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Hold on. I'm going to read you guys one true story, and it will be something I will narrate in the future as well, but you guys will get a sneak peek then. Let's go with... Oh, I recorded this one. Hold on. Let's see here. Let's go with paranormal. How long is this one? This one's better. Okay. Alright, we're gonna read this. So we're gonna read. And you changed Nair's name to Halmafoon Baboon and didn't warn him either. You really need to stop doing that. Okay, I'm gonna read you guys this paranormal story and then we'll be done. It's been 12 years, but I remember it like it was yesterday. By Headless. Recently came across a sub and decided to share my story in the hopes that this might be Recently came across this sub and decided to share this story in hopes that it might be people here with more knowledge or experience on the topic that can help me make sense of what happened to me. I shared my story with friends and family, but people never have much to add, just something along the lines of, "That's crazy." When I was 19, my uncle asked me to stay with him for the summer. He had bought a home in rural Pennsylvania, farmland out in Amish country. The home and property were pretty run down, so he was paying me to stay with him for the summer and work to fix things up. It was... One sec. Sorry, guys. It was a large old home and had two staircases. One small one in the back part of the house that led directly to his bedroom, and then the main staircase by the front door that led to the other bedrooms. Being a teenager, I used to stay up. Being a teen. Wow. Hold on. Being a teenager, yes. I used to stay up downstairs watching TV after he'd gone to bed. After a few weeks, I started to get this weird feeling being alone at night. I wouldn't just feel like there was someone else downstairs. It would just start to feel like there was someone else downstairs. Sometimes I would think I heard someone whispering. I would get slightly paranoid and find myself glancing in the direction of the adjacent sitting room that had nothing but a couple of chairs. I chalked it up to the fact that I was unfamiliar with the house and that I was just getting incredibly dark out in the middle of nowhere. As time went on, my uncomfortable/scared feelings started to escalate. It's hard to explain, but I had this uncanny feeling of being watched when I was alone at night. There was times when I would get up and go into the other rooms downstairs and turn on the lights just to look and make sure one more time. There were times when I woke up and just go into the other rooms downstairs and turn the lights on just to look and make myself feel better. I eventually just stopped staying up downstairs and would just go up to my room and read. It eventually just stopped staying downstairs and would go up to my room and read. Sorry, my eyes are going a little bit cross-eyed. Not long after, the sense of someone being present began following me into my room, which hadn't been the case before. It was like one moment everything was normal and I was happily reading or lying in the bed, and then I would get this weighty feeling of something entering the room and watching me. I just tried to ignore it and would eventually fall asleep. Things continued to escalate. The presence started following me into my room, visible every night. The presence started following me into my room virtually every night. I would immediately notice because there would be this weight weighty change in the feeling in the room, and the temperature also seemed to get colder. I would lie in bed at night and hear whispers or breathing in the room. I started sleeping with the lights on. The next part is the point in which the story the next part is the point in the story that the title was posted in Allure to. One night, I was laying on my bed with the lights on, reading. I was pretty tired from work, and the work that we did that day, and we were falling asleep earlier than usual. Everything was normal in the room at this point, and I felt relieved because I just wanted to go get some good sleep that night. I set my book down and drifted to sleep. Sometime later, I started to be awakened by a strange sound lying there with my eyes closed. I could hear something that sounded like rumbling. It wasn't loud, but just this constant, faint, rubbing sound coming from nearby. I regained consciousness enough to think, "What is that?" and came to opening my eyes. I looked down towards my chest. I had been sleeping on my back, and found my left arm extended straight up into the air, reaching towards the ceiling. The rubbing sound was my fingers, and they were being played with. My fingers were bent and manipulated, and the sound was my skin rubbing against each other. Directly above my head was what I can only describe as a black misty / fog, maybe 2.5 to 3 feet wide. Having just woken up, what was happening did not immediately register. I lay there staring at my hand in the mist for a few seconds, confused. I think this was compounded by the fact that I couldn't feel my hand, so it almost seemed like it wasn't happening to me. Then, like a bolt of lightning, a jolt of pure terror shot through my entire body. I never felt terror like this before. I had been afraid in my life, but I didn't know what terror was until this moment. I think horror movies actually do a pretty good job. I think horror movies actually do a pretty good job at recreating how it feels, with a disorienting camera angles and the music, like the famous score from Psycho. I yanked my arm back and spun back like a concerned animal, sitting up at the head of my bed, my back and arms pinned against the wall as I stared at the mist. It just slowly faded away, and then it was gone. That was my experience. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night, replaying it over and over in my head. Did that actually happen? Was I dreaming? I must have been dreaming, but I'm still here awake. The sheets kicked off my bed from where I had sprang back. It happened so clearly. No, it was real. This really happened, but it couldn't have. I decided to tell my uncle the next day. I had mentioned previously that I was getting creeped out hanging out downstairs alone, but that was the extent that he knew up until that point. He actually believed me, or pretended to. He actually believed me, or pretended to, and said that he got weird feelings in the house at times as well. He told me that the previous owner had been an elderly man that had passed away. At this point, I only had a couple more weeks left at this place before I needed to head back home to get ready for the next year of college. I tried to stick it out, but after a few entirely sleepless nights, I told him I was heading back home early and left. He ended up moving for work reasons a couple of years later, and I did visit him once at that house for a family Thanksgiving, but did not sleep there. I know this is an incredibly long post. If you made it this far, thank you. People who have experienced or have knowledge on this topic. Do you have any thoughts? Have I never I have never had any paranormal experience before this and didn't really think about ghosts or whether they were real or not. I certainly never thought they would be able to physically interact with me. As you can probably guess, I'm a firm believer now, but I have not had any other experiences, and I hope not to. Alright, and that is the last story. Definitely since my eyes are going a little cross-eyed now. I hope you guys all enjoyed the spooky stories. Mostly all fiction, but at least one true one in there for you guys. Thank you for joining me this Saturday, and I hope to see you next Saturday. I have Horror on the Rocks that's going to be joining me. If you guys would like us to do more live reading during these coffee chats, please tell me in the comments down below, or if you're on the podcast, you can always tell me on either Instagram or on Twitter, adding 242 reads, and I will read your comments. Again, remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. I would always love a comment, and share these live streams either after the fact or during the live stream. I hope you guys all have a good day, and I will see you next Saturday.
Hey